Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we getting on? Welcome to a brand new camp build, and today we are making use of the brand new Wildwood Tavern prefab, which is pretty cool, although it does have a couple of shortcomings that we will be getting to in a moment. So let's jump in. Okay, Wildwood Tavern build. So this one we're just going to do as a tour, basically because there's not a whole lot of actual building involved, and what there is really simple. So I'll cover it when we get to it, but for now we're going to have a wander around. So yeah, this is a pretty cool, pretty huge really, prefab. We've got 3 stories up there, some inside areas, some outside areas. It's quite cool. The 2 signs on the front there, the Wildwood Tavern ones, are all lit up. Those are separate pieces that I put into place, obviously along with the 2 things on the wall as well, just below them. They're quite cool, depending on which road you're going down. I thought we should have 2 so you can see the sign from whichever place. So the first big thing about this, obviously, is that it is a corner piece. It's more or less on a right angle, so it really looks like it should belong on the end of a row of shops. So plonking it down on its own can look pretty weird. So little nod to Steve, one of my stream moderators, who put something on Twitter that kind of showed just how closely this particular building set from Season 8, the Charleston Fire Station type thingamajig one, actually sits well up against the prefab, so kind of realised those work together well from there, so shout out to him for that. We've just added a little extra row of shops onto the back here, because frankly this thing really does need to be on the end of a row of shops. So just taking a quick look at this structure, the build budget is almost maxed out. There's a tiny little bit left, but not enough to decorate the inside of this any more than I have done. So the idea is that it's a closed down shop that, they've taken all the stock out of it, but a few bits and pieces are left behind, the shelves, the mannequins, that sort of thing. So we've got the windows here are from they were available in Season 2, obviously a greenhouse set, but they've come up on the Atomic Shop since, so if you want to pick those up you can. There's another more rustic set, but this one works better for this. So we'll just stick our head in the door at the moment. See, I've kept it basic, so you can see it was a shop, but it's closed down. There is a back room back there, it's just 1 foundation wide, and that's where I've stashed my generator, as I needed some space for that, so that was an empty space that seemed like a good spot to put it. But yeah, this is just really to extend the structure, because otherwise it looks really weird. So the other interesting thing about this is that when we look at this main prefab here, which is what we're moving towards now, this one section just to the right of the door there, that is the last kind of section on the ground floor of the prefab, that actually sort of kind of doesn't exist. There's nothing in there, it's just there to provide that sort of upper roof balcony thing where the power armor station is. Underneath it there is no internal space, which is very, very weird. Don't know why they did that. The internal space just sticks with the main tall bit of the building, which we'll see in a moment. And yeah, very, very odd that. I did want to see if there was something I could do with it, and there's a tree that clips through occasionally, because it comes back where there's no actual floor in there, which is odd. It would be better if the whole thing actually did have a floor through there. It's worth noting as well, because this is quite large, you really need it on a very flat piece of ground, otherwise you'll find bits of it either float or stick up or look really weird. One handy thing though, that set of concrete stairs on the front, they just snap straight in over the door, as will any set of stairs, but that's the one I used. But yeah, it's really helpful, there's a snapping point there. Another tiny weird point, see that window up top with the skull in it? From the inside, that's all boarded up, but from the outside you can see through it. There's a couple of other windows that kind of do similar things, but that's the only one that's kind of 2-directional, 1-directional, whichever way you want to look at it. It's a bit weird. I think a slight oversight there in the design of the thing. You can see you got that little bit sticking out behind the prefab there over the conduits as well. That's kind of aggravated me a bit because it makes it difficult to push anything up against this back edge. And being as this thing looks like it should be on a line of shops, you really do need something off the edge, otherwise it just looks weird and like it's kind of dropped from space. So, yeah, bit of a headache there. So, just the Red Rocket prefab on this side, which is just nudged up there to kind of extend the line and just make things a bit different compared to the other side. I didn't really need the internal space here, with the exception of maybe somewhere to put the symptomatic and stuff. So, I've basically gone with the idea that whoever's in the tavern has just used this as random storage space. So, everything's just kind of dumped in here. The decon arch there will work, and I've got it wired up because it's useful to have. Same thing with having a collectron and the symptomatic as well, but basically this is a random storage space. It's all locked up, and I just threw stuff in here to make it look like it was being used for storage. As I say, I didn't really need the space because the tavern is actually really quite huge. I'd say the same thing really about the shops around the other side, but in both cases you do, in my opinion anyway, need something that extends off of it because, as I say, this thing is really a corner piece at the end of a row of shops. And that's my big bugbear, hence why I'm rabbiting on about it, is that when you place this down anywhere other than at the end of a row of shops, it looks like it doesn't belong. Who would place this anywhere other than at the end of a row of shops in a city? It just wouldn't get built there. Really looks like it needs to be in Charleston or Morgantown or something like that. But problem is, most of the places this could go, you either can't build a camp at all, or there's just not enough space and it doesn't sit up against the wall properly, or you've got that bit where the conduits are that stick out and stop you pressing up against the wall that way. It bugs me. It's a really nice prefab, but it just doesn't look like it belongs anywhere. I've done my best to work with that idea and work around that idea here, but yeah, it kind of puts a hair up on the back of my neck because I like things to look like they make some kind of sense where they are. And if that doesn't bother you, great, but for me it's kind of annoying. Anyway, you can use this thing for just about anything you like, obviously, but it's supposed to be a tavern, so I made it into a tavern. I do like pub builds. I like pubs in general, funnily enough. And I'm quite happy with how this came out. Fairly standard procedure for me, using the Tipsy Tom set of bars there for, well, the bar. And I've doubled it up because the sort of single thickness just doesn't look deep enough. And it's also not very deep when you've got the vendors on the top there. They kind of hang off the sides if it's only one thick. But careful positioning and manual lining up of these things got it into the place. Then I was able to just kind of snap along, and we've got a bar in. I went easy on the display cases behind compared to the last build I did, just because it was a bit over the top in the last one. Got a nice mix of stuff back there. Those two new lights up there are, well, new, and I do like those. They're pretty cool. They don't put out a lot of light, but they put out enough, and it's not overbearing, and it's kind of nicely coloured as well, so I do like those. Some rickety tables around, giving it a pretty cool vibe, I think. The stools are new as well. There's two sets of those. One looks more like they belong in a diner than a bar to my eye, which kind of these do too, but not quite as much. So I went with this particular set, but there are two. I do quite like them. Do like having bar stools in. Just head on upstairs. Obviously this staircase is built into the prefab, but it looks a lot like the Halloween one that we got about this time last year, in fact. And it's really quite cool for that, except it's more wooden than the other one is. It's got a bit more of a metal vibe to it, I think. It's definitely a different texture to it, but I do like it. It looks really cool. Nice job done on that. A little pool room upstairs, because, you know, got to have a pool table and a bar. Well, if you got the space, anyway. Which we clearly do. Put a few extra chairs around. Gone for the modular couches, because they make good kind of wall seating for bars and pubs and stuff like that. There's a couple of different sets available. This one came from a season. There's one that pops up in the Atomic Shop occasionally. A Nuka-Cola light there. One of the weird things sort of up here, and you have the same problem when you get up to the upper story as well, is because of the really rough kind of whitewashed, scrappy walls, you really have to kind of lean into the scrappiness. Otherwise, it's going to kind of look weird. If you want a kind of clean look, it's not really well disposed to that, but that's fine. Looks like it's been here and abandoned for a while and somebody's moved in subsequently. So, we have a little balcony out here, which is pretty cool. Good for a seating area, but I thought a good place to squeeze my crafting benches and stuff in as well. Obviously, those don't really look like they belong in a pub, which is why I tucked them out here in the kind of employees-only area. We've got the roof of our little shop area off the back here, and as I say, I attached this just to make it look like it was in a row of shops. The building-wise, it was just a case of line up the foundations and then snap the walls in place, dead easy. The one thing that is interesting is this roof. You can see you've got the tall roof pieces that stick up here all the way around to the corners. And these don't actually come with corners. The other set that's included, the other set of roofs, does. This one doesn't. So to do this, I used a flamethrower, put it on the roof next to the one on the corner, and destroyed that. Then just snapped it through the destroyed roof, which does mean that the beams underneath don't actually match up, and it's all a bit weird, and we get the flickering. But from ground level, it kind of completes the look a bit more and looks like it's more intentional, so that's what I was going for. Dead easy to do as well. There we go, a little crafting area, get a decent look for it from here. You can see that tree clipping right through, and the reason that is there is because, as I say, underneath this balcony bit of roof here, there is nothing. It's just kind of empty, so it doesn't properly demolish the tree, which is kind of annoying. But it is what it is. I did try getting in there and putting something down, but you can't place anything, so bit unfortunate. And we'll head up the gantry stairs to the top level. This is where I've put my kind of living space. I did think about putting the generator, because I've used a fusion core generator for this one, up on either this little bit of roof here where the crafting benches are, or possibly under the stairs, but it doesn't fit under the stairs, it's too big. And when you're up top here, you can sort of see through the stairs where the conduit is down there. And unfortunately, the stairs are in the way, so you can't wire it up. We'll have a little look around our living space on the top floor. I don't really get why this has got a conduit, to be honest. It doesn't seem to power anything that I can see, and it doesn't seem to reach the whole way over the prefab either, so you still need to put conduits around the outside, which is really odd. So either removing that or making it so it will power the whole prefab would be better. But yeah, it's a bit weird, that. We've got a kind of scrappy-looking living space here. Again, we've got that whitewashed, scrappy wall look. So I kind of lent into that and so use the merge glitch there just to drop that cooking station on the top of the cooker there. It's not quite on any of the rings, but it would stick out if I did, so we'll have to make do with it being in the middle. Kind of mix and match with the table, keep that kind of scrappy vibe going. Most of the furniture is sufficiently worn out that it kind of works with the beaten up walls, but yeah, as I say, it won't really do for a clean look, this sort of space, IMO. But I do kind of like how it's come out. It does look like the building has survived the war and been abandoned, and somebody's just gone, why the heck's nobody moved in here? Fine, I'll do it. And taken over. So I kind of like that. But yeah, a nice vibe. If you're going to live somewhere in the apocalypse, you could do a darn sight worse than this, I think. A little bit of merging on the shelves there, just beside the wall, just to make the place look a little more thoroughly decorated. And it's come out quite nicely. So yeah, I have really weirdly mixed feelings on this prefab. I do like it. I think it's a really cool structure. Really fun. It's more than big enough so that you can just use it alone for your whole darn camp if you want, which is cool. But as I say, really has to be on flat ground. Otherwise you wind up with things like the entrance being way up in the air and having an odd-looking set of front steps. Or something will end up floating and problems like that. But if you can find a nice flat place for it, it works pretty well. As I say, to come back to that little gripe of mine, if it's not on the end of a row of shops, probably on a T-junction like this, then it really does look like it doesn't belong there. And to me, that bugs the crap out of me, to be honest. But yeah, I like it. I like how it's come out, but I really do think you need to find somewhere with a bit of flat ground on a T-junction. This is a good spot for it. There are a couple of other places. There's a spot just south of Morgantown, but again, it's not really that flat there up by Morgantown, and there's no other buildings around it. Because it's brick as opposed to wooden, it doesn't really look right on the end of a row of houses either. It really does have to be the end of a row of shops. If you sort of head over towards Charleston Station and then run towards the Charleston Herald and look at that corner of Charleston, you see kind of what it's supposed to look like, but there's not really anywhere to place it where it works in that same way, which does trouble me. Oh yeah, that door, by the way, works great on the front entrance here. Won't go anywhere else. It's in a separate row as well, so you can't put something else in and swap it out to that, which is kind of annoying as well. But for the other doors up top, either on the first or the second floor, whichever one you like, you do really need to use something else, and those tavern doors will only work on the ground floor there. But that's fine. Looks alright. But yeah, apart from my little gripes that do bug me a little bit about this one, I am really, really happy with how this has come out, and yeah, attaching that extra row of shops on the side is pretty cool. I do wish that little bit that sticks out on the other side wasn't there as well, and then you could do something similar a little more effectively. There is actually a tiny little gap between the shop on the left there and the back of the prefab, but it's just because you can't push the foundation quite close enough. The wall kind of steps back a little bit, so it is what it is, but you don't really notice it unless you're really, really looking for it, so I'm quite happy with how it's come out overall. And yeah, really nice prefab with just a couple of things about its positioning and placement, finding a good location that happened to bug me personally. There we go. So, I do hope you guys enjoyed this little look around the place. As I say, not a whole lot of building, just mostly tour and decoration, so I do hope that was okay for you all. If you did like the video, please do consider dropping subs and likes for me. I do very much appreciate it. Down below the video, as always, we've got social media links, merch store, channel memberships, all that good stuff. If you are interested in supporting the channel in that way, I do appreciate you hitting those buttons. Very much helps out, so massive thank you to everyone who's done that already. And if you get a chance to join us for live streams as well, we are, of course, playing 76 and really enjoying that, enjoying expositions and stuff. And we're playing Tiny Tina's Wonderlands as well at the moment, which has been good fun, so I do hope we'll see you there. But for now, Thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to speaking to you all very, very soon.